going on, Jets fans? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about what Aaron Rodgers had to say about the New York Jets. Apparently, he was talking with Mark Schlareith, and they were discussing what went wrong in New York last offseason, and Aaron Rodgers, yet again, was deflecting blame. This is what Schlareith had to say, saying Aaron and I had a conversation about, when he was with the Jets, how abysmal their running game was and how schematically it made no sense. And this is typical Aaron Rodgers right here. Deflecting blame, not taking any accountability. And I'm sure if you ask Rodgers, like, what percentage of blame would you give yourself for the Jets' shortcomings last season, I bet you would say less than 5%. But I will say, Aaron is not wrong with him saying that the Jets' run game was abysmal this past season, because it was. I mean, they were 31st in the league in yards per game, only averaging 91.8 yards on the ground last season, only had 8 rushing touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry. Like, he isn't wrong when he's saying the Jets' run game was abysmal, but why was it abysmal? We'll talk about that here in a second. But before we do so, if you guys want to prove Aaron Rodgers is wrong, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Will the Jets running backs and that offensive line prove Rodgers wrong week 1? Give me Y for yes, N for no down below in the comment section. It would be a dream of mine if the Pittsburgh Steelers rolling in the MetLife week 1 and the Jets run for 200-plus yards on the ground and they look like a great support system for that quarterback, Justin Fields. I would love it. But if you guys want to let me know, will the Jets running backs prove Rodgers wrong week 1? Let me know your thoughts down below. So Schlareith continued to saying this, I kept watching plays. There's a difference between having guys that can't block people, but having your players do things that make zero sense. Why in the world would you block this way? This scheme has zero chance of being successful. And I understand this. Like, yes, them saying the Jets scheme last year, running the football was poor. But Rodgers played a part in that. Like, we cannot act like Rodgers didn't handpick his offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, handpick his passing game coordinator in Todd Downey, both of those being disastrous hires for the New York Jets. A big reason why they couldn't run the football last year was because of Aaron Rodgers. And I thought Nick Faria did a fantastic job just summarizing this nonsense coming from Rodgers, saying this. So to summarize, Rodgers was angry about the Jets' run offense, even though it was his favorite play caller, with his system, and with him being allowed to audible at the line of scrimmage. And that was the number one thing we knew about the Jets' offense last year. Aaron Rodgers had final say when he got to the line. He could change any play. He could check into a run. He could check out of a run. He could do whatever he wanted to. And yes, there is no doubt. The Jets were a joke last year. They were one of the most overrated teams heading into the last year's football season. But Aaron Rodgers played a massive part in that. We cannot act like Aaron Rodgers just dropped into the situation where he had no control. Like, a big reason why he wanted to come to the Jets was because he could bring in his guy Hackett, Lazard, Randall Cobb. He could bring in all of these guys and make him as comfortable as he wanted to be. And now once he's off the New York Jets, he's talking about how poor their run game was, how it didn't, set him up to be successful. I just think this is typical Aaron Rodgers right now. I mean, it's June 23rd. This is the definition of an Aaron Rodgers June 23rd report. Him deflecting blame, not taking accountability, because I understand the Jets' offensive line was shaky. Did Breece Hall and Braylon Allen have a great year by any means? No. But a big reason for that was because of the quarterback. Rodgers was the guy calling the shots, especially at the second half of last season after they got Saleh out of there. Who was necessarily the head coach of the New York Jets? It was Aaron Rodgers, or at least who was the offensive coordinator? It was number 8. It was Rodgers. So I don't understand this from his side. Actually, I do understand this from knowing just who he is and how he has handled himself over the last couple of years. He always is blaming the media. He's blaming somebody else, but he can't take any accountability. Now, if Rodgers came out and said, yeah, listen, we couldn't run the ball last year, I thought a lot of that was my fault, but then he started to give some reasons why it also, wasn't successful. I could hear more of that, but it's just typical Aaron Rodgers catching a headline here in June. But what say you on this one? Will the Jets have a top 10 rushing offense next season? We've been talking about it on the show. This should be the backbone of the football team. Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below if the Jets will have a top 10 rushing offense next season. Now, I definitely think they will. And I think it should just take a massive leap. And, A big reason for that is, one, I think you're bringing in just a better offensive play caller than what the Jets had the past couple of seasons. Like Tanner Engstrand, coming from the Detroit Lions, they were one of the best rushing offenses in the league. He should be able to get a whole lot more out of this group. But also, just the offensive line should be significantly better. If John Simpson, Tippmann, and Vera Tucker, if they can all stay healthy, I love that, threesome at the interior of the offensive line. But now you're also bringing a guy like Armand Membu, who should be a solid right tackle year one for the New York Jets. If Fashanu can't stay healthy, like this five, if this is the five we see for all 17 games this season, we definitely should see this run game take a massive, massive leap compared to where they were last season. But it's also like the Jets don't have talented running backs. Now, again, if you just show these raw numbers, you're probably saying, well, how good really are they? But again, I think it was more of the scheme, the system that didn't allow these guys to, reach their max potential. Like, because it's Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Are they going to go average 4.2 and 3.6 yards per carry next season? I don't think so. I think it will be significantly improved from that. And also, how else do you improve a run game? You get a dual threat quarterback. Like, we take some of the best run games in the NFL last season. The Eagles and the Ravens. Why were they successful? Yes, they have two great running backs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, really good offensive lines as well. But also, when you have to respect the quarterback on those read option, triple option, zone option plays where they had Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields can do that. Because whatever you think of Justin Fields as a passer, which I still have major question marks on him if he can win from the pocket, but him in terms of an athlete and being a runner at the quarterback position, it should help this run game a whole lot. And it's also the Jets. They're going to lean into the run game. Like, the Jets' offensive identity will be built off the run game this upcoming season. It's not going to be Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. We're just trying to beat you on the outsides. They will be trying to run the ball down your throat, trying to just add a sense of physicality. This is an Aaron Glenn football team. It's going to be defense, running the football, shortening the game, limiting mistakes, and that should be how the Jets find success. So, listen, I understand where Rodgers is coming from. Jets couldn't run the ball, but it's just going to be really funny when we're talking about this in about 3-4 months from now, and we're like, oh, snap, how do the Jets have a top 7-ish rushing offense in the league? I think it's because the guys that you brought in, Fields, Membu, and just this whole new system, moving off from the Aaron Rodgers era. But I do got some fun news for you guys. Tight end university was going down this weekend. George Kittle, he has a bunch of the tight ends that are in the NFL. They go to a camp, they work out, and actually all of the Jets tight ends were there. Jeremy Ruckert, Mason Taylor, Stone Smart, and Zach Kuhn. So they're getting great work in. I honestly, if there's a huge track record of guys that go to this camp and then they have massive years the following year, now this camp is completely blown up where damn near every tight end in the NFL is heading there. But one guy that I loved being there specifically is Mason Taylor because, he's got high expectations heading into year one, and he should have a big year one. Like, if I had to call who's going to be second in receiving for the Jets this upcoming season, it's probably Mason Taylor. I think he's going to be around a 6, 7, 800-yard year guy this year for the New York Jets, and he should be that safety net because a lot of these read options, it'll be a tight end sneaking out to the flat. You just dish it off to Taylor, and he can make somebody miss, turn a 3-yard gain into a potential 8, 9-yard gain. So I love that he's there, getting great work in. Also, him just being around some of the top tight ends in the league, like T.J. Hawkinson, George Kittle, all those guys being there. Hopefully that rubs off on him, and I'm just excited to watch him play. But I think he's going to be second in receiving yards this season for the Jets. What do you guys say? Who will be second in receiving yards for the Jets this upcoming season? Are you rolling with Mason Taylor? Are you going with a guy like Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith? You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And also, friendly reminder, hit that subscribe button on your way out if you guys don't want to miss a thing around your New York Jets. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.